So, my thoughts on Marco Sturm being the head coach of the Boston Bruins. A little bit late on this one. Apologize for that. I was struggling with pneumonia, and my voice has just recently came back within the last few days. So there's going to be a lot of subjects I'm catching up on. So, Marco Sturm I know some Bruins fans, it looks like it's kind of, some liked it, some don't. I like it. I like bringing Marco Sturm back. I liked him as a player. Now, do I think when we traded for him and, was that in that Joe Thornton trade? Do I think it necessarily was fair trade value in that sense? No, right? Because that was the Joe Thornton trade. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I believe that was the Joe Thornton trade. But Marco Sturm was a very solid winger. Superstar player? No, but a very solid player. And the thing I like about him is he's gone elsewhere, he's coached elsewhere, and I think he can bring something different to this Bruins locker room, but he also knows what it means to be a Bruin, and I think that's really important. There's a certain culture in Boston, and Bruins fans really appreciate somebody that can kind of really take that into account when they're looking at representing the Spoke B on the front of the jersey. For me, Sturm, he's been elsewhere, seen some success. I'm hoping he brings something different to this team offensively. I think the Bruins have become very stale, and the systems that they were running were just so predictable when it comes to our offense. So I'm hoping he comes in and puts a little bit more flavor to it. And some of it last season you could blame to some of the players on the roster not producing to the level that they should. But I would also say the coaching wasn't the best situation. Obviously, Montgomery, he dips and goes to St. Louis mid-season. And then, you bring in a guy that's just an interim guy, and we knew he was most likely not going to be retained. That's nothing against Sacco. I'm just kind of being honest. That's how he was in Colorado when he was the head coach there, the interim head coach. I'm excited to see what Marco Sturm can do. I think it's important that he can maximize what he gets from this roster, right? You have a superstar in David Pastrnak. You have some decent offensive pieces. Pavel Zacha, you're hoping he can kind of have, a 60-plus point season. You have Middlestat, who you acquired from the Colorado Avalanche for Charlie Coyle, who point production-wise, very similar player, but maybe you can kind of get more out of Middlestat, a guy that in Buffalo and in Colorado, you thought you could get more there out of him. I think Sturm's most important thing is going to be the offense, because quite frankly, the power play has not been good enough. The offense has just been very stale and predictable. And you can blame some of it maybe on the roster construction, but there hasn't been much innovation within the Bruins offense. Call me crazy, probably within the last decade. So maybe a new voice, a new look, a guy that's been other places. You can bring something in here that kind of maximizes the talent that's on the roster, and for some of the young guns. And that's going to be the most important thing for me, is can Marco Sturm bring the best out of younger guys like a Matthew Patra, right? To me, this upcoming year is kind of a make it or break it year for Matthew Patra. He has shown the promise. He has shown the very good patience and playmaking ability, but he very small and very light. Can Marco Sturm make Matthew Patra legitimate, or help make Matthew Patra a legitimate top 6 guy? That's a genuine question, and you gotta have, and you're hoping that's the case. I'm not negative on this guy. I'm not. I think Sturm's been here in Boston. He knows what it takes to succeed here, and quite frankly, they needed to bring someone in new. And I'm just glad they didn't get some old retread, right? I know some people really want to go after Quenneville. I'm glad the Bruins kind of, just with everything going on there, dodged that bullet. Tortorella, I wouldn't have been big on that. I love what Torts is, but I'm glad they went in a different direction. Try something new, and if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to be mad at the Bruins organization for trying to bring in somebody a little bit younger and somebody that can maybe bring in some more ideas. I think Sturm could work out here in Boston, but he's got a lot to prove. I'm not going to sit here and say I know for sure he's going to be a home run. Hey, you never know. He could not work out at all. But I like the philosophy behind this, and here's to hoping Sturm can really help push these young Bruin players to the next level. There's a lot of changeover. There's going to be a lot of jobs up for grab this upcoming season. And you're hoping that with some of the younger prospects, maybe under Sturm they flourish. Who knows? And this is just a quick aside, because talking about the power play, since, I'm going to kind of add this in the video. In Providence, when I was watching their games, they kind of ran a different system, and I kind of wondered, I will say this, I did wonder, was that one of the reasons why some of these P Bruins really struggled when they came up here to Boston, that there wasn't cohesion? I'm hoping that there's more cohesion in that regard, because I think the P Bruins had some talent on that team. I think the Bruins have some talent in the organization. I'm not saying they have a bunch of blue chip prospects, but I do think they have a bunch of guys in the system that could be solid NHLers. I just don't think they've been put in the best situation to succeed when they've been called up to Boston. And you give them a short leash, and then you're getting adjusted to the NHL game, a little bit different system. I could understand why there were some struggles at times. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What did you think of the Marco Sturm signing as head coach? Let me know your thoughts. See you in the next one.